Fantastic Four sequel rumored, despite box office bomb. Even Pedro Pascal is. Really? Marvel reportedly plans to move forward with the Fantastic Four sequel, even though First Steps is on pace to be the last steps, because it's another MCU financial disappointment, which follows Disney confirming both Captain America Brave New World and Thunderbolts as big busts. And it's too bad. Thunderbolts wasn't too bad. Fantastic Four is not that bad either, but I tell you, this is consequences of the overall damage to the brand. So according to insider Jeff Snyder, oh wow, see? Get it? Marvel still wants to move ahead with a sequel, probably because what else are they going to do, with director Matt Shakman likely returning. According to the report, the thinking is that the studio hopes that the team's upcoming appearances in Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars will boost their profile enough to help a second movie perform better. Okay. The box office wasn't great this weekend, with the Fantastic Four First Step suffering a huge drop en route to a second weekend of $40 million, indicating that it will likely come in under Superman. I've heard that Matt Shakman will likely return to direct a sequel, which Marvel execs think will perform better once its first family appears in the two-part Avengers finale. That's going to have to be some really cool Avengers finale. So I don't know. And will that rub off on them? So far, there's been no official announcement from Disney or Marvel Studios, though Disney CEO Bob Iger did speak positively about fantasy. He always does that, and then he drops them like a turd in the ball, but they're kind of stuck where they are. So I imagine it'll be a much cheaper Fantastic Four movie. Unless, boy, the Avengers movies just blows it out and rakes in $2 billion each, then, well, that's a different story. Because they're rebooting the whole thing, and the Fantastic Four is brand new to their MCU, so the new MCU will have them in there, plus the X-Men. And so it stands to reason, I'm sure there's a lot of truth to this. It's a rumor right now, but it does have some credibility to it, and they're just kind of stuck with it. So they probably will go ahead with it, but they're going to have to cut some costs here, and then they stick with the same director. Of course, it's not the director's fault that they damaged the overall brand, which is probably what hurt it more than anything else. And so maybe it's hard to believe there's any, hey, we feel bad about you taking the fall for this, so we're going to give you another job. But then there's also the reality, though, they probably can't get anyone else at this point, So whatever. The rumor comes on the heels of Fantastic Four First Steps taking a major 67% hit in its second weekend, dropping to $38 million domestic after opening at $117.6 million. It now trails James Gunn's Superman, which only dipped 63% in its second weekend and is flying past $550 million globally. As of Tuesday, Fantastic Four is at $378.3 million globally. So can they hit 500 million by I don't think not by next week. And then I was on Doomcock's show earlier, and it was Robert Wright made the mention that the kids are about to go back to school. So that's going to limit the available audience to get you over the finish line. So plus they probably need a lot more than somewhere within the 500 range. But anyway, despite a 91% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes and an A- on CinemaScore, Fantastic Four isn't connecting beyond hardcore Marvel fans. The Wrapped called the second weekend collapse perhaps a bad omen for Marvel's future. Yes, this is bad for the overall brand, which is terribly damaged, and Fantastic Four is not responsible for that. They made a lot of mistakes with the movie. Oh boy, did they. But, yeah, seen far worse. The report notes the film was expected to hold below a 60% drop, which could have kept it on track for $300 million domestic and $500 million worldwide run. But that now seems unlikely, and the box office is being questioned. Critics and analysts agree that Fantastic Four didn't offer anything that got people trailing. Unlike Superman, which generated buzz around characters like Crypto and Mr. Terrific, exactly as Matt McGloin said. First steps played it safe. There were no breakout moments or cameos, no major tie-ins to the wider MCU. Mole Man was in there. They cut out the Red Ghost, which now looks like a mistake to me. And Dr. Doom had a cameo in it. So there's cameos, but Herbie was their Crypto, I think. And I guess that didn't work. Anyway, with the strong visuals and positive word of mouth, it failed to capture interest outside the core fan base. The movie gave audiences exactly what was expected and nothing more. Well, I expected far worse, but, I get the point. Film critic Aaron Newworth filled in the rap. Fantastic Four, which I did like, didn't have that by comparison. There wasn't anything specific that made people go, oh, you have to go see this film right this second. Yeah. So Fantastic Four is now facing a tougher box office battle, heading into its third weekend. Now, competition like Freakier Friday, Weapons, which looks interesting. That looks creepy movie, might be good. And The Bad Guys 2 is expected to pull away key demographics, particularly families and general audiences. Opening weekend data already showed a skewed audience around 70% male, with the percentage of families that went to see Marvel's Fantastic Four low at 17% compared to Superman's 31%. Fantastic Four was already pretty heavy on fanboys and light on families, a theatrical insider told The Wrap. Competing with The Bad Guys #2 in the second weekend probably ended up being a bigger hurdle than expected. And Robert Downey Jr. is like, what are you going to do? Marvel is clearly hoping that by the time Fantastic Four appears in Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, the team will finally catch fire. Well, then they'll burn down, though. But expectations have dropped, according to The Wrap. The site offers that both Secret Wars and Doomsday aren't likely to reach the $2 billion highs of Infinity War and Endgame. Not without the same build-up, fan investment, and hype. That's the problem. They're saying, oh, yeah, Doomsday and Secret Wars, it's Infinity War and Endgame all over again. You don't have the backlog of movies that built the hype. And I know, especially Infinity War, people just love that, but without the development of the characters in the other movies, it's not going to have the same effect. So these are movies heavily dependent on one another. It's the nature of the shared universe beast. And unless something changes, Marvel may not attempt to launch another new character until after 2028. There's still no word about Shang-Chi 2. Gee, I wonder why. I think they'll move forward with X-Men regardless of what happens here. So, there's that. Anyway, in the recent Marvel press event, similar to what Iger has said, Kevin Feige confirmed the MCU will be scaling back on content. Yeah. From the first Iron Man in 2008 through Endgame in 2019, Marvel produced around 50 hours of screen storytelling. In the 6 years since Endgame, the number jumped to an astounding 102 hours of movies and television. 127 hours if you include animation. That's too much. Well, it is a factor. There was Marvel saturation. That's true. Plus, the homework necessary to understand everything. Uh, but you're leaving out serious problems that you forced in this. The woke era did a lot of damage. Fantastic Four probably would have had a better chance if you didn't sell woke stuff in its promotion. Sue Storm was overpowered, but really only at the end there. And she didn't really come across as a total girl boss in it overall. Everybody was watered down in the Fantastic Four. They still had elements of their character there, but especially Ben Grimm was just completely, well, watered down, you know. Then you have a gender swap. You just can't do that anymore. You just can't. And that's a surefire sign to someone, nope, nope, nope. You know, even though for the most part, it's not a woke movie. But you have the decorations and trappings of wokeness in it. And so, pass. And you've already done the damage, even with the actual, I mean, if you'd had full on, maybe, but even that's just hardcore Marvel fans, which for the most part you probably got. And then the nascent ones off who do know something of Fantastic Four, that could have worked. It probably would have done a little bit better. But the brand overall is so badly damaged. It's really tough for a brand new movie. And yet that's what they got to do. X-Men, is that going to work? You know? What do you say, Pedro? You think it'll work? I don't know. It's not really his job. He's just plays the character, you know, whatever. So there you go. It doesn't look good. So, but gee, was it really all that predictable? Yes. Especially after Daredevil, which is the most popular of the Netflix shows. Of all the Marvel TV shows they had done and whatnot, the Daredevil of Netflix, those first two seasons were great. So it was a lot of interest in getting Charlie Cox back, but then they She-Hulked him. And the brand overall was badly damaged by more crappy movies and TV shows. And by the time it came along, nobody saw it. Nobody showed up to watch it. That beyond the fact that the show they did was terrible. But they didn't know that at the outset. They assumed it would be based on the track record of Marvel. So the brand damage is severe and it's there. And here you have your Fantastic Four movie. And again, didn't show up. Yeah.